For my first industry interview, I chose Jack Harris. Jack is the Director of Athletic Logistics and Support at the Macaulay School. While that job title may sound complicated and confusing, what he does is actually very simple. He does a little bit of everything. Whether that is ordering uniforms for all of Macaulay's athletic teams before the season starts, fixing loose screws on football helmets on Friday nights, or making sure the baseball field is ready for a doubleheader, if it needs to be done, you can bet that Jack Harris will be the man to do it. I got to see the impact that Jack, or Coach Harris as I called him, had on Macaulay's athletic program firsthand. For 3 years, I worked alongside him as both the student equipment manager and the head student basketball manager. And all throughout that time, the lesson I would take away from Coach Harris was evident. As he said himself in our interview, be willing to help and to do whatever you can to help, but don't expect praise or recognition. It was always clear through his words and actions that this was the philosophy that he carried with him in all aspects of his work. While learning how to manage a seemingly endless supply of equipment for 17 varsity sports, Coach Harris also taught me how to better deal with people. A huge part of what he does is coordinating between players, coaches, referees, representatives from the companies that support Macaulay Athletics, the students he works with, and the school's administration. For every sport, coaches and players both have a vision for how they want their uniforms, what kind of equipment they like to use, and how they want the field or court set up for their games. These preferences may not always line up with what the referees or opposing school will allow or what makes sense from a practical standpoint. It is often Coach Harris's job to find the common ground between all the different parties and give athletes their best chance at success. The things I learned from working as an equipment manager under Coach Harris have helped me grow as a person more than any other experience in my life. As Coach Harris said in our interview, when you're in a job like his or many other sports support roles, praise is not something you're likely to receive or something you should expect. As such, you have to be able to draw satisfaction in knowing intrinsically that you did a good job. When you can become less reliant on the praise of others, you will find more peace in your life and enjoy your work more, no matter what career you choose to pursue. As an equipment manager, I also became much more of a people person. Coordinating with coaches, athletes, and other people in sports support roles was a vital part of my job, but also something I've never done before. I made so many connections during high school thanks in part to the example that Coach Harris set for me. I had to talk to coaches, athletes, trainers, PA announcers, other equipment managers, and so many other people every day in order to make sure my job got done. This is a skill that has already benefited me so far in college and one that I'm sure will continue to benefit me for the rest of my life. I feel much more confident speaking to people one-on-one as well as more confident speaking in or to groups of people. While a lot of the things I've already discussed are some of the benefits and high points of pursuing a career in sports support and sports management, there are some challenges that come with it too. On top of the lack of praise and recognition that those who work in these kinds of jobs are used to, there are several other things that make this line of work challenging. When asked about the most challenging part of his job, this is what Coach Harris had to say: dealing with the egos of coaches and managing the tedious work that is required. Part of the reason why Coach Harris has student equipment managers to help him is because of all the tedious work that his job requires. Having students handle some of the smaller tasks allows him to focus on parts of his job that are bigger and may be more difficult, which is where he excels. This also gives the students who work for him a chance to get some experience with the type of work that he does. Overall, I really enjoyed interviewing and reconnecting with Coach Harris and asking him some questions I had been curious to know the answer to since I had worked with him. Hearing him talk about how much he loved his job and got fulfillment out of it despite the challenges was definitely my biggest takeaway from the interview. If I had to interview him again, the main thing I would do differently would be to ask more questions about the progression and advancement of his various jobs working with sports. But all in all, I'd say this interview was a success and I'm excited to conduct more in the future.